Please welcome Jock Zonfrillo.
He was still there. I really felt he was there.
Alfie!
I told him it would be okay, that, I've got this.
You probably do appreciate why people want to know why he died and how he died.
For the first time, we're hearing from the wife of celebrity chef Jock Zonfrillo, who died suddenly at just 46 years old. Hello, I'm Michael Usher, and welcome to Spotlight. Loved around the world, the body of the charismatic Scotsman was found in a Melbourne hotel room 2 years ago. His young family were half a world away in Italy. Tonight, Jock's wife, Lauren Zonfrillo, shares her very personal story with guest reporter Liz Hayes.
Hi, I'm Jock, and this is...
Alfie!
Jock Zonfrillo, the celebrity chef with the Scottish accent,
Breakfast!
was easy to like.
Your time starts. No!
He charmed an audience of thousands of television viewers
You too.
from the moment he graced their screens as a judge on MasterChef in 2020.
10 out of 10, big man.
And there was no greater supporter than his wife Lauren, a marketing executive who fell for him the moment they met.
Jock just came into my life at the perfect moment. I wasn't looking for anything. I'd kind of given up, actually. And then I came across this man who was just so vibrant and lively and had this big life story, and he was so honest with me.
Morning. Coffee.
I looked back over some emails to my sister across that week, and I was like, I think love at first sight is a thing, Lance. I actually think I've met someone and I love them. Is that even possible? And our relationship moved fast. 8 weekends later, and we were trying for a baby, and we did a big overseas trip together, and then months later we bought a house together, probably 4 months later. A few months later we're engaged. We're married, we have a baby. Everything just went really fast.
You said most of the time it just felt too good to be true.
Yeah, I was pretty smug about life, I really was. I do wonder if we were pushed to do things at a rapid pace. It felt right at the time, but maybe the universe was helping us get a certain part of life done together so we could have our family.
That family is 7-year-old Alfie
So here's the sweet tooth.
and his 4-year-old sister, Isla, who perhaps not surprisingly, just like their dad, are pretty comfortable in the kitchen.
Have you done this before? I think you have.
I think I've done it with my papa.
Did you? Yeah, he was a great chef. Did you make pancakes?
Crepes and pancakes.
And Alfie's little sister, Isla, is no culinary wallflower.
Popped in here. Just one. Leave it. Isla! What are you doing? Stop it. People are going to think I feed you butter.
Is she the rebel in the kitchen?
Yes, and also she does love butter. She's good at it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. How are you going to fix it? Uh-oh.
It's a joyous scene, but tinged with inescapable sadness, because it's Lauren who must now wrangle this family domain that was once very much Jock's.
You said you wanted to cook with Papa, you got to be professional, right, buddy? You ready?
What does that mean?
Like, you got to be, like,
Please.
a big boy, okay?
Oh, and we got can't move.
No,
We can still move.
we can move on the seat,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can be funny
Yeah.
and stuff, okay? But you just got to be a big boy, okay? I'm ready, so
That's funny, like,
that's not funny. Are you ready?
what?
Jock was a youngster himself when he began his cooking career. starting as a dishwasher in his home city of Glasgow, to eventually working in Michelin star restaurants with some of the world's greatest chefs, including Marco Pierre White and Gordon Ramsay. In Australia, Jock opened his own award-winning restaurant in Adelaide. And in 2018, he was the recipient of the Basque Culinary World Prize for his work with Indigenous food.
It's been a tough road, and receiving a prize like this is, you know, a huge reminder that sometimes, you know, even though what you're doing isn't popular, it's the right thing. If it feels right, it probably is right.
Jock's success, though, came after years of battling and beating drug addiction. And Lauren says her husband was still dogged by bouts of anxiety. She's now written a book about the grief and trauma of losing Jock.
You said Jock's loud, sweary voice, tattoos, whiskey drinking made him seem invincible.
Yeah.
But it was just a distraction.
Yeah, it distracted me too sometimes. I thought Jock's got this. And he was just a beautifully flawed man. You know, he had lots of trauma in his life and he was able to piece himself back together and keep moving.
And together they did, often spending weeks at a time in their happy place, Italy.
All right, let's get started. Actually, before we get started,
Yeah.
what's rule number 1?
Don't touch the knife.
But in 2023, the Zonfrillos packed up and moved to Rome permanently. It's where the Scottish chef with Italian heritage wanted his kids to grow up,
Everyone loves mortadella.
and where he dreamt of retiring. But there was still work to be done, and the plan was for Jock to continue with MasterChef.
Get ready, one more day for MasterChef.
In April 2023, Jock was in Melbourne to promote the new season of the show. Lauren and the kids were in Rome. They made FaceTime calls to each other every morning until Sunday, April the 30th.
We woke up and I called Jock and he missed the call, like he didn't answer it. And I mean, I know it's wildly dramatic, but something had shifted. Something wasn't right. And I sort of sat there going, what's going on? I called a couple of times, maybe 3 times, and then I called the hotel. They thought I was a fan and they wouldn't put me through to his room. So then I just sat on that for a couple of hours and then I tried again and they said, we know exactly who you are and we're not putting you through to his room and it's too late now anyway. And I said,
So how
"Okay."
are you feeling at this
I
point?
was now hysterical. And I said, it's my husband, I'm on the other side of the world with 2 young children and I'm really concerned something is wrong. I don't know what I need from you, but maybe just knock on his door or do something. And they said to me, look, his lights are on, he's fine, he must be in his room, which is not the answer I need.
Panic set in, and with a deep sense something was wrong, Lauren called the police to make a welfare check and waited. A few hours later, the news was grim.
I do remember the call very well because I collapsed and then I said to the policeman, I need you to call me back. Like telling me you entered my husband's room and there's a deceased male makes no sense to me at all.
Is that the message
Yeah.
he delivered?
Yeah.
That they'd gone into his room?
Yeah, they entered his room and there's a deceased male in bed. And that couldn't comprehend that. And I said, I need you to call me back. And I sat there for a while going, I think that obviously there's a mistake. They've gone into the wrong room or something has gone awfully wrong here. But I went into shock and I stayed in shock for a very long time, possibly up to a year, to be honest. There was a lot of hysterical tears, of course, but I needed to get out of there. I needed to make some really important calls and I needed to get on a plane.
I still remember that the call that I got from Loz in the early hours of that morning and saying that Jock had passed and grief hit me straight away. And then as soon as I got off the phone, I ran straight to the bathroom and I'd vomited everywhere. It was like it hit me then and there straight away.
Andy Allen and Jock were co-judges on MasterChef and close friends. They'd had lunch together just hours before Jock died.
Is that a difficult memory for you?
Yeah, I've got hairs are standing up already. And I reflect on that so much now.
When you reflect on that lunch, was there a hint of anything that was wrong?
Nah, that's the thing that hurts the most because it was so sudden.
Within hours and barely functioning, Lauren, clutching Alfie and Isla, boarded a plane. They landed in Singapore, into the arms of Lauren's sister, Lani.
We just saw each other and she was broken. It was just such relief. Like, I had nothing left.
That was the first time that I've never felt such sadness. I just held her and I just wanted to take that pain away. It was very, very heavy. Yeah.
Alfie and Isla knew something was wrong, but they were yet to learn their dad had died.
And you want to tell your very young children that their dad is no longer alive. Where do you begin?
Well, I had to build up like just a tiny bit of courage to do it because it takes a lot of courage to have that conversation and I really didn't want to get it wrong. So I just asked the kids to come into my bedroom. And then I just said to them, I've got some very sad news. Papa's died and he's not coming back. And Alfie understood that straight away. He was very, very upset.
All you could hear from outside that room was the wailing. It was Alfie clearly understood the message that was being communicated.
He understood the concept of death.
He did, or never coming back. Something in there made him understand that. His cry was terrible. It was absolute despair. You know, and Isla, I guess she was comprehending it, but she was watching us, and that made her very upset. And I decided that's all I was going to say. So Alfie went into, I guess, probably a bit more bargaining. He said, so he's never coming back, not even for a cuddle. I said, no, Papa's never coming back, and because he's dead, he can't do any more cuddles. And it's such basic things to say, but they're so hard to say. And then he wanted to visualise where Jock was. So he said, is Papa in a bed? Is he in his pyjamas? Who's with him at the moment? Like, he wanted to know all that information. Whereas Isla was more statements. So she said, Papa gets cold, so make sure he's got his dressing gown on. Papa's alone, that makes me really sad. Like, wow, we have created two extraordinary little kids. that care for him so much. Like, those questions are so caring and thoughtful. It wasn't about them, it was about Jock.
Jock Zonfrillo's death was a painful and devastating blow to his family. When she arrived in Australia, one of the first things Jock's wife, Lauren, needed to do was to see his body.
You wanted to see him?
Yeah, I did. I really wanted to see him. I've never seen a dead person, so I was scared of it. But it felt like, of course, that's what I needed. They took us in and we sat in this little room, and there was this really lovely guy. Like, I couldn't talk to anyone. Like, any noises, voices, it was just a very strange feeling. And he said, you know, there was some paperwork to do, and then he said, Jock's on the other side of the door, so I'll take you through when you're ready. You're going to see him as soon as you walk in. It was like Jock was in his pyjamas. I could smell his aftershave. Like, I could smell his hair product. It was just like Jock was sleeping. And I went up to him and I wanted to touch him, but I was really quite scared. And so I started with his hair, and then I could touch his face, and then I kind of was okay with it. But it was really my time to say goodbye to Jock. He was still there. You know, I really felt he was there. And I told him it would be okay, that, like, I've got this. I told him that I will make sure the kids live big lives, and that no matter what, we would be a family. I asked him what the f*** happened, and I just wanted the words. I wanted something from him. He just looked completely normal to me, you know, and there was nothing I could do to undo what was in front of me. And I was like, I think this is done. Like, I'm broken now. That's it. There's no fixing me. I'll never be okay. This is the person I love that much cannot be there.
It's a terrible, awful moment. Did it feel finally it was real?
Not yet. I still don't believe it's real.
Even all this time, nearly 2 years, 2 years later.
Still can't believe it. Can't accept it.
Jock's unexplained and unexpected death made daily news, and his funeral drew intense media interest.
I felt really like all control and power had been taken away from me. And even when I drove up to the funeral, I realised that there was just so many cameras there, and I was just really disempowered by that.
I think you said that you were right on the edge of sanity now.
Yeah. So I'd had, I guess, a mental breakdown 6 months before Jock had died. I just had been pushing so hard and working so hard. I'd had 2 children, had no time off, literally no time off. And one day I just said to Jock, I can't, I'm shutting my laptop, I'm done. And he was very understanding of that. But that was 6 months before Jock died. So when he died, I felt like I was already on my knees.
Do you recall the eulogy?
I do. I just read something that was just absolute despair. It was just a monologue of everything I'd lost and the kids had lost. And it really did feel hopeless. Like, I felt just there was no hope left. Like, there's nothing left here.
You felt abandoned?
Yeah, and it was just not fair. Could I have done something differently? Could I have been a better wife? Did I love him enough? Did I do enough? I know the answer to that now, but at the time I didn't. It was just so many unanswered questions.
For Alfie and Isla, saying goodbye to their dad at the burial was equally terrible.
Alfie reacted to the physical separation to Jock. And as they started lowering Jock, that's when Alfie really physically reacted to that concept of Jock being taken away from him, and he ran towards Jock. And so I grabbed him, and he just wanted to go with Jock. He wanted to be with Jock. As Jock was being lowered, he asked a lot of questions, going, well, can we get him out again? Is it cold down there? Is it dark down there? And then he was screaming at Jock, saying, Papa, sit up and get out of the box.
But as dreadful as that day was, Jock's gravesite is now a place Alfie and Isla happily visit, where they play and connect with their father.
Alfie, when he goes to visit Jock, he lies on Jock's heart, because he used to always kind of be on here on Jock, and as he got bigger, like his knees were up and he would be on Jock's chest, and so he wants to do that when he's on the grass. I think that it's just a place that now we get comfort from, and I leave the kids there and I get in the car and let them have their time. They just sit there together, have a little chat, roll around, talk to Papa, and then when they're ready, they go. It's just a really interesting part to the ritual that's really important for all of us.
Look, I think people will be surprised at how many times I've been knocked over and stood back up again. I think even I was surprised in just writing this book. People have always said to me, like, you've got stupid amounts of determination, you know, and willpower just to, you know, and it never really, I don't think about it, you know what I mean? But I think in writing the book, I've realised that I've been down and out so many times. There's no real reason why I should be standing here writing this book, to be honest.
Lauren Zonfrillo says over the years, she and her husband Jock had many tough conversations. He was a former heroin addict who struggled with his mental health. Demons, Lauren says, he was never able to reconcile.
This is a hard question for me to ask, but did you think Jock's demons had caught up with him?
No, I allowed every option to come through my mind. I think that's a rational way of thinking about it. But I just knew where he was at. So I think more than anyone, I was very comfortable with putting that as an option. Like I put he was murdered as an option. Like I did. I put every option down because I needed to sort of strike them out. He wasn't at that point at all where I worried about him. He had a great perspective on life. We lived a great life. He was very much present with the kids, and we were in this dream state of going, we're going to go move to Rome. Can you believe it?
But did it confuse you? Because he's a bloke who's pretty fit. He shouldn't have died.
No, and I just wanted to know he wasn't in pain. And I asked that. I said, did anything look like he might have been in pain? And they said, look, there was nothing strange. The sheets were on him, everything was calm, so no.
Lauren didn't get to speak to Jock on the night he died, but she does have Jock's journals, and in them, the last words he wrote.
He always liked to put the kids to bed at night, did all the voices with the books, and he just wrote about missing those things. And he wrote in there, which has actually had a lot of meaning to me now, which is that Lauren didn't seem herself. But I think she's just doing so much, but she's so capable, and I'm really proud that she can do those hard things so well. And that's meant a lot to me now.
The coroner's report is obviously where the official results are cause of death. Now, that's been determined not to be in the public interest. Is that at the request of the family?
Yeah, we spoke to the coroner multiple times because the inquest took a while, and it was just sort of agreed that for the privacy and safety of our family, because really the kids and I were the focus, Jock wasn't around to be the focus anymore, that it wouldn't be in the public's best interest or our best interest. Yeah. And that was determined well before the report was finalised. And I respect that decision.
That's the decision you want.
That's what I wanted, and I was grateful for it, because the way that I've looked at the last 2 years is that up until Jock's death, yes, he was a public figure, But since we lost Jock, I've been trying to reclaim some of his privacy, and that gives us privacy, but also to give him some peace as much as I can. And to us, he's dad, papa, husband, and he's not a public figure to us anymore.
Cause of death is a tough subject for Lauren, but she argues staunchly that Jock, even in death, deserves privacy.
A lot of people want to know the answer to that. I'm really aware of that. I have had many experiences with people coming up to me and asking me, how did Jock die? All strangers. And it's very unsettling.
I actually appreciate totally that you want privacy for Jock. It's a curious business being in the public eye, and there is a desire to know everything. But can I say to you that I think the curiosity isn't necessarily always unkind.
I agree.
I think it's just a shock. So you probably do appreciate why people want to know why he died and how he died.
Yeah, I think that the way I've looked at it is that Jock was very open. He was very open, and he made those decisions on what he was willing to talk about. And I now don't want to make those decisions because I don't know which ones he does and doesn't want to talk about. So we just decided if it wasn't in the public domain because Jock didn't put it in the public domain, then we wouldn't contribute in any way. And that was just a really clear way of knowing that we're just not going to make comments about anything that's personal to Jock that he hasn't brought up before.
You know why Jock died and you know how he died. Has that helped?
I wouldn't say helped.
That is?
Yeah.
Are there any unanswered questions for you?
No, nothing that's unanswered, nothing that's not understood. No, not at all. I have an answer, but it doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
Because by the time I got the answer, it was so far down the track that it just it wasn't as necessary for me, you know. But no, I've got an answer.
It seems to be the question everyone wants answered. How and why did Jock die? Lauren knows, but she doesn't feel the need to share those details. And the coroner has determined it's information that's not in the public's interest. Inevitably, it leads to speculation. But really, should we be told? Do we really need to know? Probably not.
Got a big adventure in front of us, doing it together. I'm not going to cry in front of you on this trip, so I haven't held back if I wanted to cry. Over the last 15 months I have, but I've decided to stop doing that now. I think you guys need something else from me, and it's not crying.
The raw emotion in a video diary Jock Zonfrillo has kept for her children.
Parents withhold shit all the time. And so I'm going to start doing that. And for you to think everything is fine with me. And I think that's a really good way of fast-tracking you guys to being okay, because you've both been a little bit sad this trip.
For months, the colour drained from their lives. Lauren said she stopped caring, didn't change her clothes, and refused to look in the mirror. And the kids did much the same.
So both the kids started wetting beds, forgot how to use cutlery. I was having night terrors. They were walking up and down 1 or 2 steps like they just learnt how to walk. I was constantly grabbing them, and it was just like I had 2 little babies again. We'd done all this, and we'd done it together, and I had an equal parent in Jock. And now I was doing both of them at a time where I had nothing left to give. And I honestly didn't know how I was going to fix it.
Lauren was barely coping. And in a brave admission, she says, for a while, parenting took a back seat.
I was trying to avoid my kids, actually. It was just such hard work. And I would go out for dinner by myself once a week, solo date night, and I'd just sit and write. And I'd probably go out another night with a friend. Babysitter after babysitter after babysitter. These kids were a gang who just wanted these babysitters gone because they wanted me. And so I would get home and they were nowhere near bed, and it was just an absolute mess, and they were doing it on purpose. And I just kept going out. My therapist, she said, well, you tapped out of parenting and you tapped into you. And I was really offended by that. And she realised what she'd said and sort of unpacked it for me, and she said, you had to tap out of something. And you couldn't tap out of you because you had to build you and your mind and body back to be able to tap back into parenting. And the kids were durable. They will be okay, you need some time. And that was actually great advice, because it's extremely selfish. And it is like, in a way, you abandon the children at a time of need. But she said you have no strength to do it. So that's not bad.
You're just going to go to... Oh, Isla's going to sleep. Everyone be quiet.
2 years on, and the happiness she feared might never return is back.
I can't believe that. Yes.
Alfie and Isla laugh and play, clutching the soft toys they received in the mail from their dad, posted to them in Italy just before his death.
This is who?
Foxy.
Foxy, okay.
Where'd you get Foxy, mate?
From Papa.
Yeah, okay. So you got that in Rome?
When it was Easter.
That's right, it was Easter, mate. Good memory.
What do you and what do you love about Foxy?
That it has Papa's spray.
Does it?
Oh, mate.
Papa's spray. Can I have a little smell?
Oh yeah, it's still on there.
Yeah, what a beautiful smell.
That's right.
I always said
Grief is very lonely. It was a terrible feeling, and it was debilitating, and it was creating a person in me that I didn't want to be. We just turned into this house of mourning. Like, the blinds would stay closed, and that was just our environment. And I realised that that's not the place for children. And so that kicked me into a different gear. So I started seeking happiness and laughter and friendship and connection, and that kind of just gradually starved the sadness of oxygen.
This is actually your happy place.
It is. It was an unhappy place, and then it drew me out of the house. Like, living near the beach, you can look at it and not feel isolated somehow.
I remember you said it took you at least 6 weeks to go outside without tissues.
Oh, yeah, that was quite courageous, the no tissues, actually.
The outdoors, and Sydney's Bondi Beach in particular, is where Lauren began to heal, helped by joining a running club.
That gave me habits, made me focus on my body, not just my mind all the time. I sat in my mind a lot. And it made me stop drinking, made me eat healthy.
Yeah.
It just completely reset and got me back out the door. So I realised soon enough that I had to be really physically strong, because I had to do the boy jobs and the girl jobs. I had to carry 2 children who needed carrying at all times, and there was no one to carry heavy stuff, so being strong became a real focus for me.
She lost her best friend. She lost her life partner. She lost the thing that she loves the absolute most.
Jock's friend, Andy Allen, and his wife, Alex, are never far from Lauren. For them too, losing Jock has been painful.
I always think of him, and I miss him. I miss him so much, Liz. Like, I miss him. It's crazy that never goes, that being reminded of him wherever I go and no matter what I do, it is still as strong as the day that he passed 2 years ago.
To move forward, Lauren is constantly having to make decisions, including those affecting her personal life.
Tricky question. A new new partner? Can you see that happening?
Look, I can't. I still think I'm married to Jock. So I think I've got to accept that he's not coming home to be able to accept that I don't actually have a husband anymore. I do want a big life. I still believe that I can. And I think part of that is love. I know that that's been a really wonderful part to my life the last 10 years. So it's likely, I hope so, but I can't imagine it.
Mama and Papa, we're in Skeeter's, guys.
It's
Let's
really
do
fun.
it. Hey,
Papa?
be careful.
You're very spiritual. Jock comes to you. You see Jock.
Mm-hmm.
Has Jock spoken to you about this?
Yeah, I do. There's times where I do laugh because I'm like, Jock would want to say something to me right now. Like, Jock is not the person who on his deathbed would say to me, I just want you to be happy. I want you to be with someone, I want you to be happy. Jock would never say that. And so I laugh at the thought of that being something because he would just never have said that. Like, he would say, I just want you to be alone and a spinster and mine for the rest of your life.
I want you to be miserable.
Yeah, so no one else. Just so I do laugh at the thought of that now.
Can you hold my hand?
No, use your hands.
No.
Use your hands.
It's flat. It's flat.
Oh, it's too slippery.
It's a bit slippery.
I'm scared. Stop, you can't let go.
Oh, I'm not letting go, you mate.
Young Alfie need not worry about his mum letting go. Since Jock's death, Lauren realises her children need her more than ever. And even though solo parenting is challenging, Arla and Alfie have ultimately been her guiding light through so much darkness.
There, that's a good spot. I think the kids have kept me pretty occupied and they see joy in such simple things. It's hard not to share in it, and when your kids are happy, I mean, it's wonderful.
You smile, we all smile.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
they laugh, we all laugh.
Lauren Zonfrillo has shared her story, hoping others experiencing trauma and grief might see a way forward. It's been a difficult journey, and for so long the despair she felt seemed insurmountable. But ironically, Lauren says starting again has given her another chance to recalibrate and redirect her life.
You said that death defined you.
Yeah.
And you also said it was the shittiest, greatest gift
Yeah.
you could ever be given.
Yeah, it is. They're two very opposing truths, and I think they sit at the heart of grief, or they have for me anyway. I think the shittest part is obviously losing Jock was such a catastrophe. It completely shattered our family. I lost my sense of self. I lost this dream of a life with a man I loved was just taken away. So it was very brutal and very life-altering. And then the greatest gift comes from the bit where I just wanted to get away from it and not run away from it, because you can't with kids, but to actually put a new pathway in place. And so I just had this unflinching commitment to focusing on things that matter. I think that I've been pushed right to my limit. And I was right on the cliff's edge, and I decided to turn around and walk away. And that has made me understand, sadly, how far I can push my body and my mind and my emotions. And that has told me I'm very capable and I can really deal with anything now.
We thank Lauren for sharing her story with us, and her book, Till Death Do Us Part, is available now. If tonight's story has raised any issues for you, support is available. The details are on your screen. I'm Michael Usher. Thanks so much for your company. Good night.